Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Wilds War Cry. I am your host, Stephen Wilds. We had a little bit going on this week, and a pretty good pay-per-view, so let's get started. I rather enjoyed TNA this week. I like what they're doing with Kenny King and Chris Melendez. My biggest thing to come out of this, though, is I'm wondering why they never had a one-legged wrestler as a heel. A friend on Twitter actually pointed out that the prosthetic limb would be the best place to hide a foreign object to use later. The ladder match with the Wolves and the Hardys, Team 3D, it was just great. It was an amazing match, and there was a lot of coordination going on, a lot of really good spots, just stuff that had me really excited. I thought they did a very good job with everything that was going on there and managed to keep it all kind of concise and neat. It didn't feel like it went on too long. It worked. It did exactly what it's supposed to do. Now each team has a win, and I'm really looking forward to see how this is going to end up. Lashley versus Rude was way better than I actually thought it was going to be. Both of these are good competitors that I like, but I had a certain expectation for the match, and it was great. That Rude bomb on Lashley to the outside looked painful. It looked amazing. I am okay with these guys having a few more matches if that's where they want to go. And because TNA is taped so far in advance now, we do know that's where they're going. And that's kind of unfortunate because I don't want to know everything that's going to happen. I want to be surprised at least a little bit. And I hate that all the spoilers are out there. And I'll admit, my curiosity gets the better of me, and sometimes I click on them when I know I shouldn't. But I hope TNA doesn't stick with this formula too long. NXT was good this week. Hideo Itami premiered technically for his technical premiere for his match. As Renee pointed out, his style is kick. His running kicks look awesome. They just seem so heavy, and I don't know how stiff of a worker he is, but I enjoyed watching it and just felt like he was really putting me into the match, so that was good. It was interesting to see Ascension get their revenge on Hideo. I wonder how long they're going to keep this up. It'll be good though, and I'm interested. So you've got me hooked there. The only thing I really noticed about SmackDown this week was I really liked Bo Dallas versus Jack Swagger. That whole segment and whatever they're doing with this, I don't know. I'm interested, with their back and forth, but the rest of SmackDown just really didn't do much for me. All right, so to the meat of our week here. I'm going to go ahead and say I think Night of Champions was a good pay-per-view. It had a great opening with a tag team title match that had so many good spots and a really decent ending, and it saw the Dust Brothers, as I shall call them now, it saw them win the belts, which I like the Usos as champions. I was kind of waiting for the Wyatts or the Dust Brothers to take the belts off of the Usos, which I think that worked out really well. That was a brutal Intercontinental title match, and I loved it. It had a very old school feeling to it. Cesaro and Sheamus, a lot of people have been hating on Sheamus, but man, those two tore it up. Sheamus looks almost straight feral with the way his hair was looking and the sweating he does and the eye thing. I don't know. That had a really good ending, and again, I wish Cesaro had won, even though I knew he wasn't, and thankfully I voted correctly to get my point for that. But I would like to see him win eventually. The worst part of the pay-per-view overall was Florida-Georgia line. I don't know who you are, but go away. Other than the fact I know they were on Raw, I think, one other time, and I didn't care then. I still don't care. Having them on commentary was just a bad idea, and please, for the love of God, stop having your celebrities physically interact with your workers. If these two idiots can beat up a wrestler, I suddenly just have lost so much respect for what wrestlers can do. Does that make sense? I understand when you let someone like Mike Tyson knock out one of your wrestlers. It's Mike Tyson. Don't let comedians and musicians just be able to. I don't know. I hate that. I really do. I wish they would stop that. And I need the commentators to focus. There was this pretty decent match between Dolph and Miz going on, and the commentators just weren't focused. They were too busy talking to these guests, and not that the commentators focused anyway. And I don't blame specifically them. They've got people in their ears telling them what to say and what to talk about and all that. But Jesus Christ, come on. I need a little bit more from you guys. So the Miz and Dolph Ziggler was interesting. I'm not sure what they're doing. And then if you saw Raw, Ziggler won it back. The two have a really good in-ring chemistry, so I'm not minding watching what they're doing. I don't mind this back and forth, but I wonder what the end game is, I guess. And I wonder if they know what the end game is. I don't think they do. I'm happy Rusev won, not just for the fact that it got me another point, but because I want whoever eventually wins this. And I was talking to Ulysses about this. I want whoever eventually wins this to get Hogan or Mr. T or Roddy Piper or somebody as a trainer. Okay, forget Hogan. Let's stick with the other two. But to get them as a trainer, and I want, like Ulysses and I were discussing, to do a full-on Rocky IV montage. They should also come out at WrestleMania with whoever's finally beats Rusev. Maybe we can go back to Swagger. Maybe I don't know, somebody else. It shouldn't be Cena. I know a lot of people are saying Cena. It shouldn't be. But I really want to see whoever does it come out to Living in America and have the full get-up and everything. It would... Man, that would make my night. Orton vs. Jericho looked great. There was that code breaker out of nowhere that had me popping. I mean, Jericho's amazing. And Randy's good. Randy's really good. Unfortunately, we all knew what the finish of this match was going to be, and the finish itself was way too telegraphed. But it looked good, and if you have to send Jericho out, why not do it that way? I do kind of question why they didn't have him do something a little bit more with it, like have him punt Jericho or cinder blocks to the head. Maybe that's just too common lately. Something to give us a reason why we're not going to see Chris Jericho for 6 months to a year. But it was a good match. I'm starting to question a lot if WWE Creative actually knows what they're doing. I'm not 100% sure about the last match. And it was on its way of doing exactly what I said they should have done. It was Cena versus Lesnar. Cena looked a lot stronger, but it looked like Lesnar was still going to pull out. And it looked like he was going to be able to establish his dominance. What they did was protect Lesnar so he didn't look weak, really, because he had just taken like 4 AAs and all that. But the whole thing with Seth not losing his Money in the Bank contract, not winning the title, it felt like it kept things in place. It was, I don't know, it was like... It was like creative said, we don't actually have an idea. So what can we do to keep up the current status quo? I've got it. And it just fell flat. This, to me, was I don't know. I would actually think, I would think this is the worst match of the night. It was the least entertaining one to me. I don't know. Maybe I'll go back and forth on that with the Rusev one. But the point is, it didn't accomplish anything. And although the match wasn't bad, although I like seeing Seth at work, I think there was so much better they could have done. I don't know what they were thinking. So to me, the main event of the night was the Divas match. And I'll tell you why. AJ looked great. She was very dominant in the beginning. Paige delivered some of the most nasty kicks I've seen in a while from a diva. And the Tower of Doom move that they all did, I don't know. Everybody was on their game. And let me tell you, I have not had a lot of respect for Nikki Bella as a wrestler. I've always thought her sister was the better wrestler. But holy cow, like she brought her A game. So credit where it's due. And she also looked pretty good the next night on Raw. But credit where it's due, all 3 of those divas actually tore it up. And I know a lot of people are complaining that you could hear them calling spots. They do it all the time. It's just sometimes the mics catch it more than others. I honestly didn't notice it until I went back and rewatched it, but I think the Divas division really had a good showing, and I would appreciate it if Vicky Earls would stop pointing out Paige's bald spots, because she is very attractive and I'd like to keep it that way. Thank you. So Raw had a decent opening, and it just kind of went downhill from there. It just became an incredibly mediocre show and didn't do anything really good. It feels so weird for the focus not to be on the champion after everything that happened last night, but this is the price you pay with having, a part-timer as a champion. I'm not completely against it, but I'm definitely not for it. I would rather see the belt on someone else. The thing is, they've done it. They've made Lesnar their champion, and I really want them not to waste him as champion. I want them to build this beast. So when somebody finally does take him down, it's going to look really good. And right now, my vote for who should take him down is actually Dean Ambrose. That's me, though. Those were the best parts of the night, though, were the Dean Ambrose segments. And Ziggler winning back the IC title, like I said, that was a cool part. But I don't know. That part feels so odd. However, I was expecting, and am still expecting, some sort of fallout between Triple H's authority and Heyman and Lesnar. And if there's not something there, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed after Rollins almost, or tried to cash in Money in the Bank. But the way WWE creative has been lately, I don't know if they'll even address it, and that makes me sad. So my question for you this week is pretty simple. With Lesnar holding the belts, with Reigns out, with Daniel Bryan still not sure on his return date, who do you want to see take the title off of him? Whether it's going to be at Hell in the Cell, which is looking like maybe now it's not going to be, or whether they hold it until WrestleMania. Who's your dream person to see take the belt off of Lesnar? I already told you, mine's Ambrose, and I think he's one of the best things. He's at least one of the most interesting things WWE has going for them right now, in my opinion. Though I almost would have popped had Seth actually won that title. Let me tell you, that would have been interesting. All right, if you have any comments, questions, anything like that, you can find me on Twitter at Stephen Wilds. You can leave a comment here on the YouTube video, and you can, of course, leave it on the page. For those who don't know, I'm sorry for the 2 weeks that the column was written. However, my computer sucked. Let's just put it that way. Have a good one.